Hi there and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm IceMan and today we are doing a champion guide on the big, the fat, the ugly Vogoth. Vogoth is a spirit affinity champion from the Undead Hordes. He's an epic HP based champion and yeah, he's a pretty cool champion actually, I have to say, notwithstanding that he's probably one of the most hideous champions in the game. I'm not sure what the deal is with these weird globy things stuck to him and this very odd looking belt, but yeah, he's like pustulous and gross and corpulent and yeah. No, I'm not talking about myself, do you mind? Anyway, no. Let's get back to the guide, shall we? So yeah, I mean, he's an interesting looking champ, not amazing looking, not one of my favourites certainly, but not bad. And yeah, let's dive into his kit, shall we? So his A1, horrendous strength, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of one random debuff on the target by 1 turn. So this is kind of a mini Vizier ability here. It's a good ability, don't get me wrong, and if you're using him in Clan Boss because you need that sustain, you need that tankiness, not to mention the healing and everything, then you know he's going to help because he will be increasing the odd random debuff on the Clan Boss, as well as helping keep your team alive basically. You know, he's got a leech in his kit, so that's great for helping keep your team alive, and as you're about to see, he's got some really cool healing abilities. Now I haven't fully booked him out, I don't have the books to do it, I'm afraid. You know, I don't get free books from Plarium, I'm not in their programs, so I basically have to do these champions myself with what I've got, what I can afford, and you know, sometimes just farming the silver and getting these champions up there takes everything I've got. But yeah, I mean, I haven't got him fully booked. I would prefer to have him fully booked for the guide, don't get me wrong, but you know, we all know as players, if you're not getting free books and you're not super rich, you can't necessarily afford to do stuff like that, so you go with what you've got. Anyway, brilliant move for the Clan Boss, brilliant move for the so it makes him viable for Giant Slayer, and it also makes him pretty solid for the Fire Knight, who is red affinity, so he's strong against the Fire Knight. He's got a free hitter, he's going to help keep your team up. Yeah, so I mean, all good there. And his A2, Wave of Revulsion, attacks all enemies, has a 60% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Also has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns on targets who receive the provoke from this skill. Now obviously when you've booked it out, this is a 75% chance for that and a 75% chance for that. Pretty solid ability there. Damage is based on HP, he's a HP based champion. I've built him up with masses of HP. His first passive, because he's only got these 2 active attack abilities, and then he's got 2 passives. Festering Dynamo, whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. Only heals by 25% of the damage received from boss attacks. This champion only receives half of the heal that all other allies receive. Yeah, so when you're gearing him out, it makes him viable for a lifesteal set to help keep him topped up, as well as going for other people. But there are really many ways you can gear this chap, and it just depends on how you built him and what he's taking and all the rest of it, and are you having issues on keeping him up or not. It may be better to build him one way, see how you go, and then if you're struggling with him, then you can look at lifesteal as an option. I wouldn't necessarily go with that as the lead off option. So big heals here, good healing all around. Obviously less on bosses, which is a bit of a shame, which diminishes his value on bosses. Not entirely, but it does diminish it obviously. Eerie Presence, when attacked, places a leech debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. If the attacker is under a provoke debuff placed by this champion, also has a 70% chance. Again, if you get this booked up, that's a 100% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the attacker by 2 turns. Occurs once per attack. So this is a really cool passive, and again, I would have liked to have got books on it. Obviously, the leech is huge. you put out the provoke, people come in and attack you, they get a leech on them for 2 turns. Again, that means that all the attacks your team are doing is going to heal them up. So it's constant healing, constant healing. Then, a boot, this guy's got an aura, increases ally accuracy in all battles by 40. This is huge. To be fair, I think it's actually about the same as Little Miss Frozen Banshee over here. In fact, hers might... No, hers is 35. So yeah, it's actually higher than hers. I tell a lie, so you know. Okay, let's go take a look at his accuracy, his artifacts. So we'll start with the total stats. I've gone a bit of a different way than I think a lot of other people have gone, because he's only got 2 attacking abilities, and although he does okay damage, I don't really feel that's necessarily the best way to build him. I'm not saying you can't build him that way. As with any champion, there's many a way you can build him. But for me, based on my account and the fact that I'm building him as a mid-game carry to heal your champions through content, I didn't want to worry about trying to build him as a hybrid damage dealer as well, because I think we'd struggle to get the health and stuff. If you're more end-game, if you've got the developed Great Hall, if you're going for 6-star gear, then you can look at building him more for damage as well as getting these sort of stats. But when you're building them for mid-game the way I am, I think you need to sort of pick what you want to do with them a bit more, maybe. Otherwise you'd lose out too much. So we've managed to get his health up to a really respectable 67,000, nearly 68,000. His defense is okay at 2,200. We didn't really want to put that up. My theory was that obviously the more damage he takes, the more healing your allies get. Obviously to a degree you don't want too much of that because he's got to stay alive, but that was kind of the theory, and that's maybe why you'd be better off in lifesteal, because then he can help heal himself up a bit more. But obviously you've got leeches out there and stuff like that, so he's also going to heal from that, which again he would heal more if he did more damage, which he doesn't in my build. So what I've mainly concentrated on is getting his health up really high, his speed up really solid, and his accuracy really solid. So as you say, 2,200 defense, 211 speed, which is really healthy, especially with the sort of 5-star all across the board gear he's got. I didn't worry about his attack stats. He'll do some damage, but he's not going to do masses of damage. It's not a huge issue. His accuracy we've got at a really healthy 359. So this guy can even do hard Doom Tower. Not saying that I'm doing hard Doom Tower, but that's the sort of goal you need to be shooting for that. So he's really not going to struggle anywhere else. He's fast, he's healthy, you know, he's going to do some damage. Do some healing. Damage. Anyway, so let's take a look at the masteries I've gone for. Again, I've built this guy up from scratch, my own. I've then since then gone and looked at some other people's guides, and just out of curiosity more than anything else, compare with how they built them versus how I built them, and you know, many people seem to be going for damage and things like that. I've steered clear of that, as you can see. So initially I started off with the defense tree, and I thought that was actually a mistake, mainly because I was trying to come down to Fearsome Presence to increase the chance of placing a stun, sleep, freeze, fear, true fear, or the big one, provoke skills from artifacts or skills by 5%. So he's now at 80% chance to provoke rather than a 75. Problem with that was I was taking things that were basically going to mitigate damage. Isn't necessarily a bad thing, but obviously the more damage he receives, the more healing he does. So again, this is something I may play around with at a later date. I then swapped it out, I did my reset, and I decided to go this route. So we've got healing. It heals him if he kills somebody, which he doesn't tend to, but that was more just to get him over to this side. Then we've gone for the 30% chance of increasing turn meter into Evil Eye, which again helps decrease turn meter on enemies. Master Hexer, like I say, it only really increases that decrease attack, to be fair, and the leech. But again, increasing that leech is actually a good one. So I mean, it actually says cast, I'm not so sure if a passive technically counts, but we'll see. I couldn't really figure out where else to go with him, to be honest. Obviously, we've gone for giving him more health, in for increasing the value of heals this champion casts by 5%, down in even more healing, and the value of shield buffs, not that he casts a shield, and then even more healing. On this side of things, we've kind of gone for resistance, even though, which is purely because I was trying to ignore the defense. I didn't want to increase his defense. I wanted him taking the damage. It's a trial. We'll see how it goes. We've then gone into increase the amount of healing and shield buffs this champion receives. So again, that helps keep him topped up a bit more. Down into he gets healing when he kills an enemy target, which again, like I say, doesn't happen often, but it can happen, especially if your teammates have got him low and then he comes in, gets the last hit, kills them. It's going to help him out. Increase resist by 10 for each debuff on this champion. Realistically, it was just because the leech won't do anything on him because he's not placing sleeps or freezes or stuns or fears, so there was no point in taking that. And again, this is more damage mitigation, so I didn't really feel that it was needed. And it was really anything to get down there. We've gone for the chance to counter attack when this champion loses 25% of their max HP, which, because he's built with high HP but weak defense, could happen quite often. So he's going to get those extra hits, which will increase debuff durations. So, you know, that's quite useful. And then obviously, as we sit down, into fearsome presence. So that is masteries in a nutshell. And we're going to take him into some content. So let's start off with, see, Seal would be there healing, and we don't necessarily want healing, but we want somebody to pick people up. I don't have a lot of geared and ready to go revivers on this account, unfortunately. Okay, we'll go for Arbiter. I mean, I know she does some healing as well, but she doesn't do a lot of healing. So, Warlord unfortunately does do some healing, so we will take him out. I like the shields and whatnot that he brings, but we'll actually put Valkyrie in instead, because she'll give us some shields just to help with the sustain. We've got a couple of defensive champions in here, and then we've got our sort of Poisoner and Nuka. Now, she's wrong affinity for here, but I find she does very well for this fight. Obviously, I've not trialled this, so we will see how it goes. Obviously, we get our turn meter increases, provokes are coming out. So, I mean, he's not hitting massively. 1,000 or 2 here or there. But you see these heals starting to come out. Obviously, we've got a leech out on some, 2 leeches out. I mean, to be fair, I maybe could have brought in somebody like Miscreated Monster, who'd give us some shields and support and stuns. And actually, he might have even been a better option than Valkyrie. Not necessarily better, just at least a bit more free-to-pay friendly since he's an epic. As you can see, all these shields have gone. There you go, so we're taking some damage. Yeah, his actual healing was shit. I mean, Christ, she did more healing. I don't know how. Oh, I'm guessing off of leech. So we're going to try this guy in the dragon. I'm having a thought here that we tried him in the ice golem, and he did all right in one instance, whereby, which is the one we're going to show in this video, whereby he was paired with like Valkyrie, putting up big shields to help keep people up, help keep people alive, and most of the heals done came from people then doing the damage with the leech that he's putting up, as opposed to his healing passive. And I think a big part of that is the fact that he, although he gets hit on AoEs, he gets hit when he's putting out these provokes. Because I've only got it on the 4-turn cooldown, it's not up every 3, and even 3 is not that great, and it's a 1-turn provoke. It's not bringing in enough damage to him to heal the rest of the team. So what we're going to try and do is use him in a situation where he is the weak affinity on purpose, to see if drawing those attacks into him helps keep everybody else alive, and we'll see how that works. So at least she'll be putting out the decreased defense like we want, but she won't be provoking people. We've got no shields, so we're just hoping all the damage will come in Vogoth, and he'll keep everybody topped up. I really wish they hadn't nerfed Madame Ceres, because obviously I'd much rather the decreased defense be on a 3-turn cooldown. And to be fair, they brought all these other champions into the game with 3-turn decreased defenses, so she wasn't broken. And in the arena, which is where they were trying to nerf her for, reducing that cooldown didn't hurt at all. Where it did hurt is in the dungeons, where she wasn't broken and she was just useful. So it was really a stupid move on Plarium's part, that one. And I hope to God that they change that back at some point. But as you can see, we're all nicely topped up. We're not suffering any damage. I mean, we've got a couple of OP champions in here. Obviously, most people, if you play long enough, you will get to the point where you pick up Arbiter. But if not, Scylla the Drakes is a good option for a reviver. And to be fair, the only reason I use Arbiter as opposed to Scylla the Drakes is because I want to showcase how much healing he does, and she has a passive that heals as well. Obviously, you could argue you'll be able to see who does the most healing at the end anyway, but she's free to play and still accomplishes the same role. If you're not running somebody like Xavier, who is, yeah, totally OP, I grant you that, great champion. If you're not going to run somebody like her, I used to use Frozen Banshee instead, and she's perfectly adequate for the job, she's just not as good. So you see, it's not my fastest time. My normal team would be faster, but it's a good solid run time at 2 minutes 22 seconds. Now, when you look at the healing, Vogoth hasn't actually done much more than anybody else, and I don't know what the deal here is. Maybe I've put too much mitigation. Maybe I should have stayed away from the defense tree entirely and built him out for damage or something. So he's not actually healing massive. Part of that is maybe they're not taking the damage, although there's no shields here, so there's no reason they shouldn't be. We've got no stuns, no CC of any sort really. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is healing like this, where it looks like Xavier's out healed everybody by masses, is actually the fact that Xavier's doing masses of damage and the leeches are out there. So yes, she is healing herself technically, but she's only healing herself because of the leech that Vogoth's putting out, which is great. I still, for the life of me, can't quite work out why he's not or he, she, whatever it is not doing more healing. I mean, don't get me wrong, you look at Arbiter. Arbiter's only done 16,000. Arbiter does have a heal in her ability, so she's okay. Is he a good champ? Yes. The provokes are great. They help keep damage coming in, and with the high health pool, he's not taking hits. The leech is absolutely brilliant. The other passive, I'm just not seeing the impact that I thought I would. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not seeing it. Maybe I've done something wrong with the build. I don't see that how I could have done. Maybe I'm just expecting bigger heals than I should do, and it's just constant trickle heals here and there, which is helping keep everybody up. So we'll try him in the Fire Knight, which is the other place a lot of people would think that it'll be good for, because obviously right affinity and has the triple hit on the A1. Now obviously Law is more likely to be the target here. We've got Cold Art in here for decrease. These two are in here for decrease in turn meter. Xavier's in here just because she does a lot of damage and she's brilliant all around. I used to use Abyss in all of these sort of runs and stuff, but quite frankly I just find... Now the one thing I don't have is decrease defense. Allure brings a minor version of decreased defense on some hits, not all. And by all rights, I would prefer to bring somebody in here who does that. So actually, we're getting some pretty solid heals there. You know, 1,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Especially where we've got these provokes up. Yeah, again, 2,000, 2,000, 3,000. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just looking wrong for some reason in the end picture, and you're not seeing the impact there. Because again, he's taking it with the provokes and everything, and like in the last one where he was the weak affinity and taking most of the hits, because he's tanking, the other people aren't even taking damage, so they're not even needing the healing. So you know, as a tank all around, he's great because he brings the damage to him with the provokes, and if you take him into places like the dragon where he's weak affinity, he's actually going to be weak affinity and therefore not needing the provokes so much. So he's keeping the damage off your other champions, and then when they are getting hit and hurt, when he then gets A, he's healing them up with this leech, which is brilliant, and B, when he takes damage, he's then also healing them up. So we've got a few people damaged here. This will be a prime example of how good he can be. There is some low health here. Now as he takes these hits, let's see how much healing we get out of this. See if anybody's still alive to hit him. Or takes a turn. $6,000. That was a nice solid heal there. Yeah, so I mean, maybe I just wasn't paying attention closely enough before, and this is where you need to be watching it, is in the fight. But actually he's doing a brilliant job of healing and tanking at the same time for the most part. When he's not tanking like here, because he's not weak affinity, Allure is, so she's going to be the target a lot of the time. His provokes were still keeping a lot of that damage off of her and kept her up and alive. I mean, in my normal runs, she quite often dies and Arbiter has to pick her up, and Vogoth being here stopped that from even happening. And then with the triple hit, you know, he's helping get that shield down quickly, which is what you want. In this run, we've obviously got poisons. We've got Xavier does masses of damage anyway and blows up those poisons. Just like I say, an all-around brilliant champion. You've got champions like Cold Art here who do the big hits to help take the boss down. Oh, we all took a hit there though. That didn't work out so well. Unfortunately, I don't think the boss can be provoked, so this is where the healing's not going to help so much. Although at least the leech will still be up there. So, you know, all in all, we've shown him in various places. Faction Wars, obviously, he's going to be big. It's going to depend on... if you can get all the books in, you're going to get more value out of him. It's actually worth looking at putting him in a provoke set, I would say, so that you've got a chance to provoke on every hit. That's actually a very viable way to build him, depending on where you need to use him and depending on the gear. If you've got some really good gear in the provoke set, then you can still get hit high accuracy and all the rest of it. Great. If you can't, I mean, that's the thing, you need to build him based on where you're going to be using him. For me, for the moment, I'm not doing hard Doomtail, so I didn't really need to build the accuracy out as high as I did. I just sort of built him the way I felt he should be built, that you can get all that healing out. He's not an arena champ in my mind. Leech is fine, it's great, and the provoke is there and everything, but it's not an AoE going to provoke everybody. There are champions out there that do that and do that better, that I would use. I think he's actually very good for the dragon, because as a negative affinity he makes an even better tank there than anywhere else. He's decent in Ice Golem, but I don't think he can really sort of solo heal you through it. You need more support there than that. However, the tanking he does do when the provokes are up and the leech he puts out will still massively help your team get through content. And then in Fire Knight, I think he's absolutely brilliant, as you saw. Not as much utility on the boss, because I don't think the boss can be provoked, and obviously he's not negative affinity, so he's not going to be the target if the boss comes at you. However, with the triple hit, he's going to help you get through the shield, and then with the leech, he's going to help keep your team healed up when they're hitting the boss. So again, absolutely brilliant. Is he the top tier champion that a lot of people think? In my mind, no. I don't think he is. I think he may help my undead team in Faction Wars, although I'm not convinced of that. I'm going to have to try it out when it's open next and see how that goes. But I had a reasonably solid team in undead anyway, and you know, I'm already using mostly a mage who cleanses and heals and puts up block debuffs. I think as a healer he is just a better champion. Obviously Vogoth does bring the fact that he's a tank and a healer as opposed to just support. Now obviously if you build him out in a HP set, I mean, again, there's so many ways you can build this guy. You can put him in a provoke set, so he's going to get the provokes out more often, which will help him heal your team more often. That's a good option. You can put him in lifesteal to help him stay alive more, although to be fair, as you saw, in dungeons at least, his health is rarely ever in question. It's everybody else dies and your reviver dies and then he can't do anything. So he's usually, because of the high health, actually one of the last people alive anyway. That's not really an issue. So I'd say provoke set, good option. Obviously shield set is a good option because you're building him with high HP, so then that gives you built-in shields. But bear in mind, those built-in shields, if they last longer on him, you're then not healing people. Having said that, you know, if they've got shields up, they're not taking damage, so that's great. So is he a really good champion? Yes. Is he game breaking? No. I would not say he's a top tier champion. I would not go out of your way if you've already got champions doing similar roles to build him up. He's not a game changer. If you don't have somebody who's a half decent healer and you're struggling to get through content, I think he will help you tank content, he will help you heal up, and he'll help you get through stuff. And again, I really feel that for him to be valuable, books are required. Without the books, I think he struggles. Now you saw on mine, yes, I booked him up so he's got the higher % chance of landing the provoke, but with it on a 4-turn cooldown, it just doesn't come around often enough. You want to look at things like, I was actually originally going to build this guy out with a reflex set as a chance to get that Vogoth more often. The only problem I had with that was the fact that all my reflex pieces, bar 1, was 6-star, and as you know, I like to build my champions 5-star for the guides. So anyway, all in all, in summation, he is a good champion, he is worth looking at, but he is not a game changer. That's my humble and honest opinion on the guy anyway. No doubt people will let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm sure many will agree with me, many will see areas where I've missed that he's good. He's going to be useful in places in the Doom Tower. Obviously he's got that provoke, he's got the heal, but then there are also other champions that if you've got them may do it. Again, it depends on your champion pool. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please hit that like button. It lets YouTube know it's a good video and more people should watch it, and I'd appreciate that. And if you like my content, please hit that subscribe button to get notified when I release more content. And again, the more subscribers I have, the more content gets shown to people. So, you know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you in the next one. Bye.